now my identity, the only part of me I can remember has been involved in pro wrestling. Like Jake Omen is what a lot of people know me as. Like there's girls I've dated that to them I'm Jake Omen.
Hey there, everyone. Rick Ucchino again here for SK Wrestling. Got a special interview lined up for you. Usually, when I'm on this channel, I'm talking to the stars at WWE or AEW, sometimes even Impact Wrestling. But I wanted to take a deeper dive into the world of professional wrestling, and I am speaking with Jake Omen today. And Jake is a gentleman I had the chance of meeting a few weeks back, and I want to give a little bit of a backstory here because Jake and I actually have the same wrestling trainer. You were one of the first students, I believe, were you not?
Yeah, in fact, I'm not even sure. I might have been Jimmy's first student. If not, I was within the first two or three, and to my knowledge, the only one still going.
Yeah, we are talking about Jimmy Wang Yang, the Asian redneck. Should have been cruiserweight champion multiple times in his career, as good as that man is, but he was robbed. Should have competed in a Royal Rumble, but hopefully that'll still happen one day, because trust me, that guy can still go. But Jimmy is somebody that I've gotten pretty close with over the last few months. He's a guy who lives in Cincinnati with me. He called me up one day and said, "Hey, look, I want you to come down. I want to teach you a few things about wrestling." I thought I was going in for a one-off appearance, and I've now been training for 9 months and doing commentary and this, that, and the other thing. That's how good of a dude Jimmy Yang is. And he is trying to pass on the knowledge to myself and students like Jake. And he called you one of his best students. How did you get hooked up with Jimmy, first things first?
Well, I mean, wrestling in itself is kind of just a series of weird events. And in 2004, I was looking for wrestling schools when I was just in high school, and eventually I found one, and it wasn't a very good one, but it got me into the business. And I was around for a year until somebody told me, "Hey, you need to go somewhere more reputable." And then I ended up training with Shark Boy for a short period of time. And then I just kept wrestling, but not on any huge shows or anything too glorious. And then I came across Jimmy because of a very unique friend of mine, a guy named Scary Gary, who is like this underground electronic musician, also known as Jackarutu 3. And he's also like the number one on every bad tattoo list ever on Google. Like if you Google bad tattoos or worst tattoo ideas, he has like a Hello Kitty on his forehead. And Jimmy came across him and was like, "Hey, I'm going to run shows and I need Gary on those shows." But the thing was, like, Gary wasn't exactly a great professional wrestler. So he decided maybe Gary should manage someone. And then Gary was like, "Well, I should manage Jake because we have the same kind of unique niche." And then, I wrestled for Jimmy's company once or twice. And all of a sudden he just grabbed me and was like, "Hey, you're under my wing now. And I see something in you, and I know you can make it. You've obviously got the drive. So listen to everything I say." And that was 2009. And I've just been listening to everything Jimmy's had to say ever since. And I owe him my career because I was just in a bad indie wrestling holding pattern for a long time. And there was a lot of stuff I didn't understand. So I was lucky to have come across him. And now, even to this day, Jimmy still gives me just the straight advice. And he's just been blunt for over a decade with me.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk to you today because you're in a pretty unique situation where you have had a cup of coffee with WWE not once but twice. You have gone down now for 2 different WWE tryouts, and just talking to you before this interview, I found it very interesting that those aren't a picnic. Just the stuff that they put you through is incredible. So I wanted to kind of peel the curtain back there on just what it takes to even try out for WWE. So let's say there's an indie wrestler out there who is, or somebody who wants to become a wrestler, and they get lucky enough to get that phone call. It's Hunter, it's Vince, it's William Regal, it's whoever. And they say, "Hey, we want you to come down to a WWE tryout." What should they expect?
Well, the first thing is getting one is impossible to tell you how. Like, a lot of it's just this dumb luck. But then again, you tend to get lucky when you put yourself in good situations and when you're working hard. And luckily, that's what I did. I took all of Jimmy's advice, and he told me, "Hey, be on shows with these type of people and try and be around shows where the right people will see you." And eventually I was at a show and one of the right people saw me. And I kept in contact with him for years, and I started taking his advice too. And I'll give him credit because I have nothing but good things to say about him. Hopefully he doesn't mind. And that's William Regal. And he took a liking to me, and I asked him, hey, in 2016, do I have a chance of getting a tryout? And he said, honestly, no, you don't. And I was like, all right, man, well, I have the opportunity to move to Japan for a long time and train there. Like, is that a thing I should do? And just right away, he lit up and was like, absolutely, you should do that. And then, so I moved to Japan. I spent most of 2017. And then when I came home, I talked to him, and he said he would try and put the wheels in motion of getting a tryout. So I had my first one in 2018, and I didn't think I'd ever get another one. And then I had, February 2021, the one that just recently happened. So it's like you have to be ready at all times too, and they don't really give you a heads up on these things. You get a couple weeks notice. So if you're not already in shape, and if you're not ready to go down there and just prove why you deserve to be down there, you won't even make the cut. And I saw tons of dudes come in and tons of dudes drop real fast. It's not for the faint of heart, right? So yeah, I've been really lucky to get two, because not a lot of guys get one, let alone more than one. So I'm glad I could do that. And then yeah, I can dive into details as much as you want, but yeah, it's just some of the most insane cardio drills I've ever done.
I thought the very interesting thing with what you said about or what you told me about this second tryout is there was about 12 dudes there, and you're talking about,
yeah,
I believe you said it was 6 wrestlers and then 6 like college football players or just world-class athletes. And then go ahead and tell them what happened when you got in there on day number 1.
Yeah, and I can't confirm that that's exactly what it was, but I got the vibe that they said there was 12 dudes invited down, and the guys in the room were all talking, and we just kind of got the vibe that it was probably like half guys with wrestling experience and half guys without. And then 2 people apparently didn't get all their paperwork in time, and then they were gone. And then another guy showed up, and he did something wrong, so real fast he was gone. And then that left us with 9 guys, and then within an hour, a football player washed out, and then within 2 or 3 hours, this I guess accomplished rugby player washed out. And by the end of day 1, there were 7 of us left, and it was 6 dudes with pro wrestling experience and passion, and then 1 other guy who was a Team USA kickboxer, who was a real cool guy. And it was crazy because there's 7 of us by the end, and it was just 7 people who just wanted it and like were going for it, right? Whereas when I was down there in 2018, there was 46 people, and if I'm going to be honest, I think about 15 people gave everything they had, right? And on that tryout, people were dropping like flies.
So when you say the type of cardio that is insane to do, what exactly are some of those drills that they'll put you through in a tryout?
It's all really basic drills. It's a lot of rolls, a lot of bumps, and then a lot of different things that just involve running the ropes. And for somebody, if you've never been in the ring and you've never ran the ropes, number one, it hurts. Yep. Like the ropes are hard as heck, and will beat you up anyway. But also, like, it keeps you propelled into a sprint. So if you were to go outside and someone were to sprint for, say, 30 seconds, like, that's going to take a lot of the wind out of your system, right? Well, now we have to get in the ring and stay in a continuous sprint for minutes upon minutes upon minutes. And then they'll make you be doing a sprint, and then you have to do a roll, and then you sprint, and then you have to do a bump, and then you have to sprint, and you have to do 2 bumps. Then you have to sprint and change directions. So that's a lot of the drills. And then if not, it's things like constant movement, like you and a partner, and it's roll and bump and this and that, and then jump back up and do a burpee. And then it's do a bunch of high knees as high as you can for 30 seconds. And, none of this stuff in itself, like as singular movements, are difficult. But if you're asking people to do them in conjunction and for hours at a time, even the best and most conditioned athletes at some point will be just completely gone.
Yeah, and that was the thing that it's not so much exactly what you were doing, and trust me, all of that sounds incredibly hard, especially for a guy in the shape that I am. But you talk about the hours of cardio that they put you through, and then it's wrestling,
yeah.
And then it's promos and everything, and it really seems like they are trying to weed out, like, okay, who actually wants this?
Oh, absolutely. This tryout I just recently had was only 2 days, and due to COVID restrictions, they said it was the smallest tryout they ever had, and they had to break things down a lot differently. And their COVID protocols were pretty awesome. We had to get there a couple hours early, one at a time, and outside they gave us rapid tests and everything like that to keep it completely safe. Um, but then also it means there's all these eyes on you at all times, and there's only a handful of us, which means we're pushing ourselves even harder and trying to impress. It's like it was only 2 days. Day one, it was 3 hour cardio session, 2 hour cardio session, 1 hour in the weight room with one of the best strength and conditioning coaches ever. Sean Hayes, who I believe was with the Houston Texans for a while. And then the next day it was matches and then promos and then another 2 hour cardio session. And during that 2 hour cardio session, they went even harder. So like when your body's already trashed and completely hurt, then they just keep pushing you because they really just want to see if you have the heart and the drive. At least they say if you're moldable and you listen and everything like that, then they can do something with you. So it really is just to see if you're going to stop. And even by the end of the seven people who made it to the end, I would say 5 people made it without showing an ounce of quit, and a couple of other guys, kind of started lagging a little bit at the end.
So have you heard back from WWE after the second tryout?
Unfortunately, yeah. So just a few days ago, actually, they hit me up and told me at the moment there's no opportunities for me, which is something that's kind of hard to hear.
Yeah,
I've heard it twice now. So I heard it in 2018 and I heard it in 2021. And while I didn't, and you don't really get too much feedback, so I was able to kind of ask why, because it just from my humble place, I feel like I outperformed most people at the tryout. I kind of walked away thinking like I'm going to get a contract finally, but yeah, it wasn't meant to be, and I was kind of just told it had nothing to do with my skill or talent, and that's what makes it even harder. So right now, I'm just kind of in the point of regrouping, I suppose.
I was gonna say because you've been going at this for well over a decade. You traveled to Japan. You have put in the work. You've kept yourself in shape, and that was the big thing is just the always staying in shape. I mean that's almost like a full-time job in and of itself, is just staying in that right mindset and keeping your cardio up and keeping an in-ring shape. And especially during the pandemic with a lot of indie shows and stuff being shut down, that had to be incredibly difficult. And you managed to do that, and you've made all these sacrifices, and now here you are. It's almost back to square one again. So I mean, it's like, where is your mindset now?
Honestly, it's rough. It's all over the place. I started training at 17, and I started really taking this seriously in my early 20s. So now I just turned 34 years old, which age isn't helping me out either. Realistically, from what we hear, some of the bigger companies might not want somebody quite my age because they don't see me as a solid investment. But now I've been doing this more of my life than I haven't. And like that's a lot to take in because now my identity, the only part of me I can remember has been involved in pro wrestling. Like Jake Omen is what a lot of people know me as. Like there's girls I've dated that to them I'm Jake Omen, and that's what I am, right? So like I want to say I'm having an identity crisis, but not quite, but I don't know what's next. I'm just going to keep working hard and doing what I can, and I'm gonna hope for the best. I've been lucky enough over the last like 6 years to get to go to 15 countries. I got to live in Japan and get tortured in the dojo over there, and just become a great professional wrestler. Because over there, they just don't accept anything else. If you're not great at what you do, you're gone, and it's pretty easy to replace you. So I'm just gonna keep doing what I do. And you're right, like it's a full-time job. 3 or 4 hours of my every day are spent training. We're athletes. And I think a lot of people jump into this not thinking that we're pure athletes and genuine athletes, but I mean, we train like athletes, and that's what we have to do. I'm lucky enough. I have a wrestling school now myself and a couple students that I'm trying to whip into the kind of shape that Jimmy was trying to whip me into. And luckily that keeps me working hard alongside him, where maybe I would have kind of lost my drive. Even at one point at the end of 2019, I was in a pretty bad place when it came to the business, because I thought no chance I'm getting another tryout, so why even keep going? And there's been a lot of why even keep goings, but I've somehow like just managed to keep saying, hey, don't be stupid, like quit, don't quit. Like there's no reason to stop now, man. You've just been so close. So yeah, sorry, that's a very long-winded response to.
Oh, no, no.
I'm just gonna keep doing what I do, because as crazy it is to say, and I would have never said this until maybe 6 months or a year ago, but now I'm in a different place where I know, like, hey, I could very well be the best unsigned talent in the world, and there's plenty of quantifiable evidence I could use to help out with that, So at some point, that's got to account for something, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, if, and like you said, you have your own students now, and you're passing down that knowledge, and you have gotten to this point, and it would almost seem like a shame to end it now, especially with the wealth of wrestling that there is out there. I'm sure there are going to be a wealth of opportunities for you moving forward. But I look at this and I go, you look at everything that you have done over the last 17 years or so. If a 17-year-old came up to you now and said, "Hey, look, I want to get to WWE, I want to get to AEW, or this, that, and the other thing," would you recommend them to get into it? And knowing all the sacrifices that you have taken so far, and yet haven't accomplished what you want to accomplish yet.
Yeah, yeah. I only train a couple guys, and I'm very particular about who I have accepted to train. And so far over the last year, I've accepted 5. 3 of them are still with me. So my retention rate is still much better than it is in the dojos in Japan. And I have a very real conversation with all of these young men before they start training with me. And I say, hey, professional wrestling is the greatest business in the world, and it's given me everything I have in my life. I've seen amazing, beautiful places. Like I've accidentally ended up at the Louvre in Paris. I wasn't supposed to be there, right? I've accidentally ended up at the world's biggest Buddha statue in Japan. Like those are incredible moments, and professional wrestling is what I have to thank for those. So it's the best business ever, and you meet the most incredible humans ever, and it's always interesting, but it's going to take everything you have. And realistically, the 2 students that I had that quit, I have a whole lot of respect for them for deciding that they don't want to sacrifice everything in order to just try to make it, because I sacrificed all my relationships, and I've lost my apartments, and I've lost my jobs, and I've lost most of my friends I went to high school with, and all of those people along the way, just to sacrifice for wrestling. And wrestling has still treated me so well, I would do it again. It's not a sob story, and it's not woe is me, because I've gotten to do all these incredible things, but not everyone's going to want to sign up for that.
Sure.
So I have a very real candid conversation with all these guys, like, hey, this is what it could take, and this is what you could lose, and this is what you could sacrifice, and you might end up paralyzed, or you might end up with a drug habit, or you might end up this and that. And some of these things you can control, but a whole hell of a lot of them you just can't. And you just got to be realistic with yourself. Like, do you have this in you? And if you think you do, man, I will give you every ounce of my soul to make sure you get there, because I wanted to live my dream as much as like humanly possible, right? Like I want to be the superstar as much today as I did like 17 years ago, if not more. And if I can help some dude who was just like a confused and lost kid become a WWE superstar, man, bro, I will give you everything I got. I got a student right now, young man named Blake Wright, and man, the world can be his. It's like, dude, if I can get you there, you live your dream and you live my dream, like through you, man. Like I'll give you all I got, man, if you give me all you got. So now my perspective is changed. Like I still want to be a superstar, dude, but if I can't be, then I'm gonna make these kids get the chance to live their dream that maybe I didn't, right? And maybe I made some mistakes along the way that cost me some time. And I know I did because I didn't start working out and training like an athlete. So I was in my early 20s, like 22, 23 years old. So to me, I'm like, that's a waste of time. And if I was 29, man, maybe I'd get that opportunity that I'm not getting right now at 34. So, for every kid that tells me they want to be in the business, I'll be like, hey, man, are you willing to give it everything? Like, and are you willing to give up everything? And if you are, dude, I'll do everything I can in my life to make you succeed.
That's really good stuff, Jake. I'm anything I
Sorry,
can do.
that was heavy, man. I apologize.
No, it's good, man. It's really good. And it's if there is somebody out there who is interested in it, that kid who's grown up watching WWE, or even kids now is watching AEW or Impact, whatever wrestling you grew up watching, and they say I want to go do that. It's important they know the road that it's going to take to get there, and even if you go through all of that, it might not be that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So, I mean, I do wish you all the luck in the world. And if I can help you out here, if people want to book you, they want to give you a tryout. If they want to come down to your school, how can they get a hold of you?
Absolutely. On all the social medias, I'm at Jake Omen 2012. Honestly, Instagram is the easiest way to find me. At Jake Omen 2012. It's right there at the bottom. You can also check out at White River Wrestling. That's my company. We're based out of Indianapolis. Like I said, right now I'm very particular and peculiar about the guys I train. But I want all of them to get success, right? I'm looking at quality over quantity here. But yeah, and then if you want to book me, you can hit me up through Instagram or Facebook, or you can go Omen Wrestling at hotmail.com. And yeah, I mean, I'd love to come in and prove to anyone, anywhere, like that I can be the best thing on your show and that I am a draw, without a shadow of a doubt. And whether that's domestic, abroad, whatever, I'm in. If there's some country that's running its first ever professional wrestling show in 2 or 3 weeks, dude, I'm there. Just let me know. I'll say yes to anything that's a little bit insane and anything that's an opportunity.
Jake, this has been a blast, man. Thank you very much, and good luck.
Rick, thank you.